I am recording now. I am ready.
He's recording.
All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the 10th episode of The Long Lost Explorer. I have been gone for a while. I know some of you guys may be wondering why. I don't care. I've been way too busy, and I've been doing so many things. A lot of good things, though. But I do have a potential sponsor, or I do have a sponsor actually coming up here soon, which is a marketing company, and I will be telling you more about that here soon. Today, I am going to be talking about India, the Hippie Triangle, and I'm really excited about this. Today, my host is, what was your last name? I spaced on your last name. Jalen Vasquez. Did I say that right? I was literally like, oh, wait, it's Mexican. I know it. Jalen Vasquez, everybody. Hello, Jalen.
What's up, dude? Yeah, good. Long time no see. Long time no podcast.
I know, right? And
Spencer was on my show a while back. That's how I got to know him a little bit. So yeah,
I think
it's been a while.
Like episode 30, episode 31, or something like that. So.
Oh yeah, we'll figure it out. I don't know it off the top of my head, but yeah, we'll figure it out. You can.
Yeah, I was on the plane actually, and I had Wi-Fi, and that's when I emailed you because I found it. It just popped up on my phone, and I started listening to it and laughing at it. Not in a bad way. Like I was just like, dude, yeah, I remember this. This was so fun and all that stuff. So. You lived in India for 6 months.
Yes.
Why?
Well, before leaving to go on this particular Asian trip, I was planning on going to Pakistan. I was planning on going to, places in Africa. I had all these ideas about where I wanted to go. And I've learned by this point too, by the way, that just if I have somewhere that I want to go, all it takes is like a book or a picture, and I'm like, okay, well, my mind's changed. So I've learned over the years to not really have this plan of going somewhere 2 months down the road. But I had wherever it was in India, and then I read this book called Shantaram. Some people might know it. Definitely has like a cult following to it for sure. And
it sounds very familiar.
It is. If people are in, like, it's like a novel, but it's a true story about a fellow from Australia. He was like their most wanted man at one point in the 80s, fled to Bombay, set up like this clinic for slum dwellers, was like a gun runner, forged passports. So it's his real story, but I think he had to like make it a novel so he didn't incriminate people or himself or something like that.
Okay.
But it's book. Can I cuss on the show?
Oh, of course.
Cool. Yeah. The book is fucking incredible. It seriously is like my favorite book I've ever read. And just from, it's a big book though. It's like 900 pages, but just from sitting there reading that, waiting to travel again when this was in early 2019, I knew, a couple hundred pages into this book that's where I was going to end up going. So the idea behind it was though, I've been on a few big backpacking trips before. I want to do a trip where I just have no idea what's going on with no plan, just get a one-way ticket to a place that's really mind-blowing and just see what happens. So that was kind of the idea behind going to India. Between as long as that criteria was good, somewhere crazy, one-way ticket, no plan, then I was happy. But then after reading through that book, I was like, yeah, it's got to be India. Of course, India is going to be insane. So let's get a ticket and see what happens.
That there was another book, and it might be the wrong country, but I'm thinking on the top of my head, it's called like The Lion or The Lost Lion or something like that, where this guy got lost. He was a kid. He was like, I don't know, 4 years old or something like that. He got lost and somehow ended up in an adoption agency and ended up, I think, in Australia or like New Zealand as well. And then he started looking where his family was and everything, and I believe it was India. Does that sound familiar?
It doesn't. I was thinking of a book called The Glass something. That was the only other one that I was thinking of. But is it something that you're aware of or that you recommend or what? Because I'm always looking for new.
Yeah. So I had an old girlfriend that read it, and then we watched the movie. I think it might have been on Netflix or something like that. But yeah, this guy kind of goes to college and everything. He was down in Australia. I hope it's India, and I'm like 99% sure it is and stuff. But he goes and he tries to figure out where his origins were, like how he got lost, who his parents were and everything. and he had this one word on his mind the whole time of this town, and I think it was because of his accent or something weird. It wasn't in his Indian accent. He was speaking in his Australian accent, or wherever he was living, New Zealand accent. And he was saying the town wrong. And so if you would have said it in the Indian accent, it would have been the correct place and he would have been able to find it. And he kept obsessing and going through like Google Maps, Google satellite maps and stuff. And he accidentally just landed on it. Like he spent months, like he literally went insane doing it. And then he just found it. And then he went back there and found his hometown and everything. But I think he got stuck on a train or something and then just went to another city, and he just kept trying to get back home. And then some people just took him. They're like, oh, this kid's like he's just like some foster kid, he's just like some abandoned kid, and we're just going to throw him in a foster home. And then somehow he ended up like down in Australia or New Zealand. So
I'm open to it. Anything that kind of inspires that spark to like want to know more about somewhere. I'm always into shit like that. So
yeah, it's called The Lion. I think it's like The Lion or The Lost Lion or something like that. But anyway, so the Hippie Triangle. Can you? Why is it called the Hippie Triangle, or like what is exactly the Hippie Triangle?
Yeah. So from what I understand, it's the Hippie Trail or Hippie Triangle or whatever. It's the triangle because it goes from Delhi to Agra to Jaipur to Delhi. This, I guess, is where people back in the 60s, when there was the big hippie movement, I guess a lot of people went over to India, and it just was dubbed the Hippie Triangle because that was like the main route that a lot of these, these hippie backpackers would take back in the 60s. So it just kind of over time became those three places. That's the Hippie Triangle. So of course that's like obviously that's where a lot of people start who travel there or go there. That's what most people do. Just are tourists or coming through. There's a lot to see in those three places, but yeah, it was cool, but obviously India's massive and has a lot more cool stuff to offer than just those places. Not that those places aren't awesome, but I mean, one can argue about Agra. This is where the Taj Mahal is. Everyone's heard of the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Very sad, very, very sad, dark, depressing city. The only thing that's there is that Taj Mahal. So, but yeah, I mean, you've seen like, dead carcasses on the side of the road, and just the smog. I've never seen smog such a certain color. I didn't even know that kind of color existed. Yeah. And it's just real, it's real fucked up there. I guess it was once like a real, like thriving, there was some industry that was there in that town. I think maybe it was like rubber, or there was some manufacturing huge. It was an industry town of some kind before people started coming to see the Taj Mahal as tourists. And then I guess the story goes that the government shut all that down because they didn't want it to be this industrialized place while tourists are coming. But because they did that, now it just is completely fucked, and people there, it's a gross, sad place kind of. But
interesting.
Never would have thought. But obviously the Taj Mahal is one of the most gorgeous pieces of architecture you'll ever see in your life. So it's funny that that's literally pretty much the only thing there is to do in that town, in my opinion, except for there's these volunteer, this restaurant where these acid ladies, you can eat this restaurant for free. It's just donation basis only. But these girls have basically they've had acid thrown on their faces for some religious reason, I think, or something.
Yeah.
And they run a restaurant and take donations for people. That's also a really cool, thing to go and check out and support. But other than that, I'm pretty adventurous, but it's just, there's not really much there for my blood. But of course, Jaipur and Delhi are awesome. Everyone I talk to hates Delhi and doesn't like it. Once again, I love it. I think it's one of the coolest places in India. Yeah. One of the best cities there.
Yeah, speaking of like the Taj Mahal and stuff, when you look on Instagram and, when you look at pictures on Google and stuff, with all the filters and everything, it just like looks so beautiful. So you have this notion that like, everything around it is going to be beautiful. I just came back from Istanbul, and I went to some of the places that I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, these places are beautiful and stuff. And it's like, just, that's beautiful. Everything else is just like bad, or it's dirty,
Yeah.
it's gross, and you just don't want to walk near it and stuff like that. Yeah,
It's
it's
funny how
so
that
weird.
works, huh?
And yeah, it's really funny how that works and stuff. And I'm starting to hate social media, or just more and more, just because of that, because we're getting a false sense of reality when it
Sure.
comes to just like the world and stuff. And people are talking about like, oh, look at this place, it's so beautiful, it's thriving. Why would people say it's such a horrible place? No, it's a horrible place. Yeah, but you pick you pick the most minute spot in the world, but there's a lot of like poverty, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of sad things going on
I
over
wish I knew
there.
the term for that. There is definitely a term for not capturing the full
Is
picture
it
of
kind of
what's
like the
going on.
horse blinders,
It's
maybe?
something like that. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
name for that people do. It's like some kind of, it's like an Instagram thing, where people take a certain picture. I
Uh-huh.
think everyone is probably guilty of that to some degree at some point in life. Just wanting to get like a good. I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to get a good picture of something either. But to your point, there is definitely something to like reality being distorted by just opening up your phone and like flipping through social media or something. So I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, I see what you're saying in that regard. And I've always I like to be like a medium for like, let's say like my family and the place that I'm at. So
Mm-hmm.
like I like to just show them what's kind of going on for, and like on my Instagram, for example, with the Taj Mahal, I consciously and purposely got people in the picture. I just thought it looked cooler. I also have
Mm-hmm.
fucking incredible pictures of the Taj Mahal without anyone in it.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I posted was with, it was cool. It was like a dude holding his daughter's hand and there's a couple people. I thought that looked more fresh and real. And it's almost
Mm-hmm.
unique to do that nowadays, as
Yeah.
opposed to having the real, as opposed to having the, the whatever you would call that Instagram style
Yeah,
distortion of
yeah.
reality
Just
kind
like
of thing.
super filtered, and everything
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
self-linked out and stuff
No,
like
you're
that.
right
Yeah.
though. You're right about the Taj Mahal. I didn't even think about that. Like, go look at any picture of it, and then when you go and check it out, it's like, wow, how do you even? What filter are they using to get rid of
Yeah.
all the air? The air is so horrific and just crazy there that I don't know what kind of skill you have to do that on
Now, is it
Photoshop, but
like
it's impressive.
is it because of like industrial? Are people burning garbage?
Everything, probably all the above.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only few hours away from Delhi too, but even 3-4 hours outside of Delhi, it's still just it's real bad. It's real bad.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've told people before, I'm not in someone else's country to judge or do anything like that. I mean, it's maybe
Yeah.
controversial and weird for some people. I know a lot of people that do go to these places and judge and wonder why and this and that. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for me, being a traveler is just kind of more of like
You're just kind
kind
of
of observing
lurking and
nature.
watching. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
observing it.
Rather than
Yeah.
being like, why is the, I mean, personally, I'll ask what, like, whoa, why would they do that? But I'm never like
Mm-hmm.
blogging about, oh man, India is
Yeah.
fucking, they need to fix their, whatever.
Yeah,
It's
no,
all good.
like I was telling you before, I actually have a lot of Indian listeners and stuff, and yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when I talk about like the issues and stuff, I don't want to disparage them. I want the
Yeah.
best, for everybody in the world and stuff like that. But I think people are more, you get some angry people and stuff like commenting. They're like, oh, how can you say this and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
I think the majority of the people who listen to some of the critiques, I feel like they have a respect for it, and they kind of do
Yeah.
understand and stuff like that. So I don't even care. Let's talk shit.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
But
And
yeah.
why not though? Why not be real about the situation and what's going on
Hmm.
rather than try to, again, just do the distortion of reality, but not, instead of the Instagram version, the podcast version or whatever. You know
I
what I mean?
think that
People can
makes them
do
more
that
mad.
too. Yeah.
I think it makes them more mad
Of
when they
course
try
it
to
does.
beautify. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, of course it does. And it almost does like a disservice to the experience too,
Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of people that are doing activism and doing shit like that. That's not my cup of tea, so that's fine. And
Hmm.
that's not, but so there's plenty of people that are doing that kind of stuff too. But I don't think that I mean, it's not just India. We're talking about everywhere in the world has good things and bad things about.
Oh,
Every
of
country
course. Yeah.
has
Even
good things
America.
about.
Yeah.
Exactly. Of
Yeah.
course it does. So
I'll talk
it would
shit
just
about my
be
country. So
totally, totally. And it would just
yeah.
be insane not to look at both sides, especially on a podcast like this, where we're looking to dive deeper into some of these countries and check them out. It would be unfair to to just glorify everything about it. Oh, it's so much better than my country. A lot of people do that. I'm sure you've noticed that traveling. My country sucks. My hometown sucks. Everywhere else is way better. But
I definitely do that, but more on of a smaller scale. I pick and choose like certain things when it comes to like the freshness of food.
Of course.
You go down to Mexico and stuff. You're getting the freshest of seafood.
Almost anywhere else besides America.
I know, yeah, it's really weird.
Shit.
But even like I respect a lot of the Russian culture a little bit more. The way that they're kind of more conservative. They're a little bit more friends and family oriented and stuff. Compared to Seattle, at least, because we have this a thing called the Seattle freeze, and we just hate strangers. We hate them, but it seems like other countries are definitely a lot more welcoming. Not even just to me, but I just noticed with like other people as well. People are knocking on each other's doors and stuff like that. We don't knock on doors anymore. No, we call them and say, "Get the fuck outside now."
Yeah. Or hardly even look at your neighbors. People don't even want to talk to their neighbors when they go outside, and it seems like things like that anymore. I have a Cambodian neighbor that lives across the street. He's the one person on this block where we're both like, "Hey, what's up?" You know what I mean? Like he's just super super enthusiastic and outgoing. And I don't think that's, I think you said that on my show, like seeing things through those pink sunglasses. What is that called? Where you see things through.
Visualize, through the pink sunglasses.
And I think most people who are from America and who travel, it's most places seems like they're much more welcoming in that regard. Now, like, for example, so going back to India, I've had a lot of people, in India, from India, tell me like, man, like Western people are like really nice to each other. I've got this a lot. Like you guys are like polite and the like manners and politeness and things like that. Yeah. It's a weird place. The place is, it's hard to understand, I almost like left India with more questions than I had answers, just because you like are always looking around like, now what the fuck is going on here? It's just so crazy. That's why I love it. It's so great. It'll ruin your wanderlust in that regard, because the stimulus is so overwhelming that it's hard to get that in other places. But there's a lot of people that are like, man, people from America, people from, you guys are like nice and polite to each other, as if we're like, and then like 2 minutes later, it was a friend of mine. His name is Akshay, and he pointed out, for example, there was a momo stand, which is like I think they call them momos. I don't know what we'd call them, like little dumplings or whatever. They're really good. There's these stands all over the place. And like, people just roll up on their motorcycle, get off, and then leave. But apparently you're not allowed to do that. And they'll try to tell him like, "Hey, please, sir." And they'll just like, he's like, "Now watch this guy do it." And then the guy pulled up on his motorcycle, got off. They were speaking in, Hindi, or there's a lot of languages. So I'm assuming it was Hindi. And then he's like, "Now watch him." And then he just like pretty much waved him off, like, "Go fuck yourself, dude. I'm putting my bar." Like, just weird. It's funny to watch like how things work there. So, like I said, just depends. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people there that would maybe prefer the kind of qualities of life that we have here. And there's just like we were just talking about, there's just kind of these weird pros and cons to everything as far as like social interactions go,
Yeah. Well, when I noticed like even, like going downtown, or just even some downtown of like smaller cities here, like in my state and other states I've been to in California and stuff like that, I notice everything is relatively chill for the most part. People aren't walking too fast. There's not that much chaos going on. You could probably nitpick like some cities, but in a general sense, when you go to a lot of these Eastern countries, even Russia, even Istanbul and stuff like that, and I imagine India is just relatively the same. It's kind of chaos over there. Everybody's driving within inches of each other. People are yelling, screaming at each other. There millions of people are just like walking past and stuff. It's also a very heavily populated. It's the second most heavily populated area in the world. It's 1.2 billion people, or
who knows,
something
dude.
like that. It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I know that, and there's probably 500 million stands. Just people are just trying to haggle with you and stuff. And if they just see you're not of their color, of their culture, they're trying to rip you off or get your money like ASAP and stuff. So, but it's so that is the thing over there. It's just kind of street life chaos.
Street life chaos. That's the way I'd put it. Yeah, street life chaos. That's what I like the most about, I think, Asia in general, is that just street life chaos. But India is just, it really is just on a whole nother crazy level as far as that kind of stuff goes. Yeah. You know, I was, and as far as like that kind of chaos goes, I mean, I just so happened to have been there during the Kumbh Mela, which is a festival that only happens every 12 years there in India. And there's like 120 million people that attended this festival. So it is quite literally the largest congregation of humans in the history of recorded history. So, yeah, they build an entire city for this festival. And I mean, just the most unbelievable, it's just jaw-dropping, crazy chaos, you know, that. And I live for shit like that. I love that kind of stuff. You know, there's just there's nothing like that in my home country, you know, here in America, that could ever compare to such a energy. Like, I don't know, there I've been to some pretty cool like metal concerts, I guess, though. There's some good, you know, rock and roll shows that can bring some energy, I guess. But that, as far as just that kind of electricity, there's nothing like being around that many people. As far as you can see, it really truly is just like one of those jaw-dropping situations. And that's the best part about being there, is there's always something going on. So there's always some festival or some holiday or some like some gathering of some kind or some celebration of some kind. And I live for that kind of camaraderie, and that place, I promise anyone who's interested in traveling to India will find that kind of energy and camaraderie for sure. I mean, I can't really guarantee it going somewhere else, but go there any time of the year and you'll find some crazy shit to do in India for sure. Yeah.
Like that type of settings. I kind of feel like I'm like semi like agoraphobic and stuff, or just, I don't even think it's like, I don't even know what to call it, because it's not, being around a lot of, being surrounded by a lot of people. It's not that, but it's just so many things happening at once. It kind of overwhelms me at times. I feel like that's how I sleep better at nights in those countries, because I'm like so exhausted from just all the chaos and stuff. You know, it's just like moshing around, you know, after going to, you know, whatever concert you go to, you just mosh around and you walk more, you know, you're not driving. You probably take, I'm assuming they have like little motorcycle tuk-tuk type of things, or, you know, taxis and stuff. But, you know, you're walking around a lot more and you're like doing all that stuff. And I feel like just a lot of energy and stress is just spent just like being around the streets and stuff, compared to, you know, your local city and stuff like that. It's just very chill and kind of quiet and stuff. So
and it depends on what you want to get out of travel, I guess, too. But with this trip in particular, like I said, it was the intention was to have no intention. And there's something really beautiful to that, as far as just that applies to life in general. It doesn't have to be with a trip or anything, but just kind of, it's almost like a lens that you see the world through, or some kind of, it's a certain kind of perspective of just keeping that. I was talking with a guest that I had on my show. His name is Rolf Potts. He wrote this book called Vagabonding, which changed a lot of people's lives. It's a really, really, really popular book about long-term travel. And I think I learned a lot of this stuff from him. He talks about this kind of stuff a lot, but just like, doesn't just apply to traveling. It's no matter what you're doing, it's just keeping, like, almost like allowing life to happen, and you're, you know, moving through it and flowing through it in a way, for trying not to sound too.
Is that the guy who runs those marathons in different countries or something like that? Or
no,
you know who I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. I forgot his name. That's the one I listened to. He's
Brian Asher. Brian Asher. Yeah.
He's almost been to every country except for like 2 or something like that.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, he's a cool guy too. But Brian's a cool guy. You should get him on your show. He's a pretty cool dude. I bet you he'd be good on your show too. But yeah, no, it's just like, that is the episode. Taking that kind of, like, taking that set of glasses and putting it on and going to a place like India is just it's a really magical place with awesome people, and it's also a place where you can hate it in the same day, like hate, like, what the fuck am I doing here? This place sucks. And in the same day, be like, this is the most incredible shit I've ever experienced. You know, this is the most incredible place I've ever been to in my entire life, with the coolest people I've ever met. Like, all in one day. And, so a lot of people, and there's no right or wrong way to travel. There's no right or wrong place to go. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
For some people, they don't like that. I've met a lot of people that were very overwhelmed there. For me, it's just like, man, bring it on. Let's do this. This is fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. It's fun to just have a backpack and just be free to move however I want in a place like this. And I love India. I love the people there, the food, the chaos. It's a pretty fun time for sure.
So diving into the actual culture and the people and stuff, did you get both, love from the culture and hate from the culture as well? Is there a hate of like, foreigners or Americans or anything like that?
Never sensed it.
Never? Oh,
never. No, I think that there's a lot of like beef and strife between like Hindus and Muslims, but I don't qualify for either of those. So,
okay. So you're just kind of,
yeah. I do have they do respect beards. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll grow my beard. Everyone loved it. Never got shit. So I think maybe that also played a role in things going pretty smooth. But no, everyone out there is, it's hard. I see why people would hate it because, for example, when I first got there, I was getting ripped off, within my first, literally as soon as I got there. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. We did an episode about scams.
Go into scammers because I'm going to ask about it anyway.
It's immediately. I mean, that starts to happen. You really have to like learn how to be there as a tourist or as a, you figure it out. And I remember first landing in Delhi, getting ripped off, getting scammed, being still like wide-eyed to the situation and the country and everything, and giving everyone the benefit of the doubt around me. 3 months later when I'm back in Delhi, because I lost my passport and all my money and shit, which is a whole nother crazy story. It was a whole different story. It really, really changed my perception of all of that, all the begging thing, of all that kind of stuff. It really, really, really shifted how I even see that. Especially even here at home where I'm at, in Denver, Colorado, people will go to some pretty fucking crazy lengths, to get their scam on. And, and it's just funny because I thought I've been to Asia a bunch of times. I've thought I've been able to handle myself in that regard. But after a few days in India, I'm like, man, dude, what the fuck? But you just gotta learn how to deal. Oh, they're so on. They hustle so hard. But you just gotta learn how to be there. I'm someone that sees things as pretty much everything's my fault. No matter what happens, it's my fault. It's easier for me to live life that way. It's more liberating for me to live my life that way. And it just, it allows me to learn quicker too. So when I'm getting scammed by someone, I'm like, well, that was my fault because I should have known. I should have known that that's what that was. And now I do. Okay, fine. And then going forward, you can, gently get rid of the situation. Or as if, you're in Delhi, there's plenty of times where, there was a point in time where I was like kicking people out of a tuk-tuk, like get the get out, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not falling for your bullshit. Like they'll just, like zombies type of thing. So there's, obviously there's some pretty horrific poverty, that you'll see too. So I'm not like mad at any, like there's a lot of people there that like, fuck them. Why does it have to be? I'm like, dude, are you not looking around and seeing what's going on right now? You don't think these people are
desperate? Yeah.
Dude, if this dude can get $5 extra out of you, that's gonna, that's 2 months salary for this guy right here. You know what I mean? Like that's for sure. They're going to, it's not, and I say there, I don't mean everyone, right? It's not those collective words I'm having a hard time with working my speech around. So you know what I mean, right? Just prefacing with that.
Let me interrupt you really quick.
Yeah.
Do you notice, obviously the big cities, the big tour cities, you're going to get scammers. That's just inevitable because
almost anywhere, that's
the
right?
hot spot. Yeah. Anywhere. Yeah. What about the small cities? What about, did they see you when they try to, hustle you a little bit, or were they more fair?
Way more fair in the small. For example, there's this little town that I spent a lot of time in, and I'm sure a lot of people know about this place who's been there before. It's called Rishikesh. And it's basically this little like hippie holy village in the Himalayas, like right when you meet the Himalayas. And it's one of the coolest places I've ever been. It's like this little paradise with all kinds of people with just all different everyone from everywhere around the world. It's like the yoga capital of the world. So everyone's there trying to learn how to do that. They're learning they're doing massage schools. There's, it's where the Beatles wrote an album. It's just this cool, like little hippie area. And it's in a lot of these smaller towns, just probably like anywhere. There's more people that are more curious about you than they are trying to figure out how to, to get a book. That's a good question, because I didn't really think about that. There definitely did it was the exact same in Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, anywhere where there's tourists. It's definitely chaotic, getting charged 10, 11 times the price of what it actually costs, which, I'm totally cool with the tourist tax. I mean, some other people get upset about that kind of stuff. You're going to pay you're going to pay more as a tourist for most of the time. Yeah. So I'm not mad when they do that, but it's also a good idea to haggle too. That's part of the culture that they expect you to. And so I also have fun doing that too, not in a mean or aggressive way. It could be a fun thing, and a lot of times you can have fun with people haggling at a market or something like that. But the people that just walk up to you and you're not asking for it, and they're trying to, it's like, yeah, bro, nope. Back up.
I've kind of conditioned myself like that too. It's so weird because normally I'm doing it here back at home as well. And I'm just so conditioned now. If someone comes up to me, I'm not talking to them. I act like they're a ghost and they don't exist. And it's so weird. And before I'd be like, oh yeah, let me help you out, or no, you would like kind of feed into them a little bit and stuff. I just don't do it anymore. And if I'm in any other country, that they know they think I speak English, I switch my language to Russian, and they're just like, oh no, and I just like Nia, and I just like pass them away and stuff like that. It's a weird thing that like I've conditioned myself to do now that I never used to do before.
Have you ever been in a country? Have you ever been anywhere where, because there's a lot, reading a lot of books on like psychology and influence and shit like that lately. It's just been something that's been pretty interesting, but there's a lot. I mean, for example, in India, the people who are pulling a lot of these like scams and whatnot, they're very much know about a lot of these rules, about these like deep-seated human, I don't even know what word I want to use, but like there's like a law of reciprocity. For example, like in India, you come up and if they bless you, they'll do this real quick. Okay, now you owe me. And you really do feel like it's not even like if they get you to do, then you really do feel like you owe them something. You know what I mean? Yes, but they really know how to. So have you ever been anywhere? I haven't been anywhere else in the world where that's happened, but have you been to any country where like people will give you something and you fall for it and you're like, oh shit, now I kind of owe you one too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what I mean? Actually, I have a small flag from Russia. I was with a friend, and someone just came up to me and just handed me a little Russian flag. I'm like, oh, this is so cute. And I just kept walking away. And then he just like runs up and grabs me and he's like, give me money. And I was like, oh. And then my friend just rolled her eyes. She's like, are you fucking kidding me? And just handed him like a couple dollars or whatever. And she's like, don't take anything from anybody ever again. And I'm like, my bad. And I got a cool little flag now, whatever. Yeah. But everywhere. One of the, I don't know, some are really elaborate. In Turkey, or Istanbul, they were feeding pigeons some like seeds and stuff out of this thing. They just come up to you and just hand it right to you. They're like, hey, yeah, go ahead, go feed them and stuff. And I know not to touch them, but yeah, I feel like it's almost been everywhere for the most part. Mexico, not that much. They just asked me. I was with one of my black friends down in Mexico. They asked me 3 things. They said, hey, do you want like a pack of cigars? It was like, do you want X? And then A, B. And then they would look at my black friend and they would be like, oh, you want some mota? and then he's like, oh, no, man. And then they look at the white gringo over here and they're like, you want some cocaine? We know you white guys like to smoke cocaine, or not smoke, snort cocaine. We know you like it. Literally 90 times a day, it's like, you want some jewelry or a pack of cigars? Mota, cocaine, fuck you. And then they just keep moving on and all that. So that was kind of more of the a funny thing that, I just like noticed down in Mexico and stuff. It wasn't like, oh, start doing this and stuff, and hey, now you have to give me money. It was just more like, hey, do you want some coke, white boy? But
yes, I love it. And see, so I love seeing shit like that, or just understanding how maybe other people's perceptions of who I am are because of what country I'm from or whatever, what have you. But a situation like that will always make me laugh rather than be offended, just because I like it as an insight into other, maybe into someone else's kind of perspective or whatever. So it's funny for it to be that blatant that you're like, hey man, do you want some weed? No. Hey, what about you? Do you want coke? No. Okay. Like, oh yeah. So that's is that how that works? Okay. I had no idea, but now I do. So
it wasn't one Mexican. It was hundreds of Mexicans.
Hell yeah, that's funny.
Well, my buddy kind of looks like Rastafari, and he has the long dreads and everything. Kind of looks, doesn't really look Jamaican that much, but he just kind of has that Jamaican look to it. If he had some like, what was it, red, yellow, and green on stuff, he would look like a total Rastafari.
Yeah.
But it was just so blatant. There was just like, we know the white guys like coke. We know you like weed, like it's stuff. Yeah. But another thing of when it comes to the scams as well too, and I know you've seen this. I could bet every last dollar that I have you've seen this. Children.
Oh. Yeah, definitely.
Children scams. Very
sad. Very, very, and then it's also sad too when, you get
predatory.
Very predatory, especially like, I haven't seen that movie Slumdog Millionaire, but a lot of people that I was in India with had, I mean, there are definitely, I was traveling with an Indian friend who's from India. He was traveling around all of India. He wanted to see his country for a year. And, it was awesome having him around because he can like point to things and kind of explain what was going on. And it was very clear which kids were either kidnapped or, had been sold off for something like this, and which ones weren't. But it's this crazy situation. Like, of course you get the ones out in the street doing the backflips, and you'll see some kids juggling better than fucking people in the circus. You know what I mean? It's pretty wild how talented some of these kidnapped children are. It's incredible what they're doing. But I guess it's more just like, it just is what it is for me. I don't give little kids money because it just like, I don't know about like this is a tough situation because, if you give a kid, $5-10 and he brings home more than his granddad made in fucking 3 months or whatever. And it messes up the dynamic of the household from what I understand. And obviously one wants to avoid creating an incentive to just beg for money their entire life. But then you're also in a bind where you're like, yeah, but I don't even know what it's like to be on that level of poverty and things like that. So there is kind of a moral like dilemma with that situation. I'm just someone who just over the years have just stopped doing it. I just pretty much don't give money away anymore to people who are begging or whatever. I mean, I'll never be hesitant to buy like food or something like that,
Yeah. I feel like that's much better.
Totally. Yeah. Like I'm never, whatever, if that's if you're hungry and you're dying and shit, I'll never have a problem with that. But, I've just been played too many times and know too many people who have really just been like, I mean, because I think for example, the one with there was a lady who, again, they just use these kidnapped kids and they drug them up and shit. And then they walk up to you like, oh, my baby's sick. And the baby's all foaming out the mouth and shit. And they'll be like, he needs milk. I need you to buy that. And I'm like, oh my God. So I go and spend $20 on this thing. She's like, I need this. I was like, okay. Bought it was like powdered milk or something, gave it to her, then left. And then it turns out that's an age old scheme down there where they do that with the kid. They have a deal with the vendor. Then you go and you buy that, whatever that shit is. No one loses anything. They split the cash and, whatever. And he keeps his powdered milk. So, it's just like the risk of the risk of contributing to the demand for that to continue is way crazier to me than maybe giving money to someone who needs it. It seems like 98% of the time it's there's some fishy shit going on. It's just not for me personally. And I totally don't, it's totally cool if other people disagree with it, but for me personally, it's not worth it for me to contribute any amount of money to the demand that creates those horrific situations for people. Because if people weren't giving money to it, then it just, I mean, there's just basic supply and demand. If you get a guy and you cut his fucking legs off and you put him on a skateboard to go outside and beg for money, and people give him money, they're going to keep doing that to people. If they just stop giving him money, that guy who doesn't have legs might be fucked that time. But it's just hard. You know what I mean? It's a real tough, sad, unfortunate, just part of reality, you know, and the kids, especially, it's real tough to see that.
I definitely don't feed the beast. And I know there might be some times where they're actually just like some legit people who are homeless and stuff. But I feel like, like you said, 98% of the time, you know, 90% of the time, if you want to shoot low or whatever, you're feeding the beast of something much bigger. I mean, they're kind of pimps, you know.
Exactly.
They're kind of pimps, and they're prostitutes of collecting money, not doing sexual things. But
And what about? I mean, even at like home though, you know, even now, like, you know, in Denver, there's an insane homeless population in Denver. I mean, it's like shanty. It's like fucking literally
I'm from
like India.
Seattle. I know. Yeah.
It's like shanty towns, like little slum districts, like quite literally where you would just think you're in a third world country. But you know, even the dude like the other day is like, hey man, I'm just trying to get a beer. I'm like, yeah, here. You know, like it was just like, I'm trying to, dude, I just want a beer. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy you a beer, whatever. But like. The person who will lie about being a Vietnam veteran or who will fucking steal from their mom, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to give you shit, like with your, it may sound cruel to some people listening, but I've just, especially traveling to a place like India and seeing how some of this, I mean, just some of these things, some of the scams that they have out there, how just insane it is. It's like, dude, when I see someone with like a fucking phone and, you know, they're chilling. They got a barbecue outside of their tent and shit. I'm like, he's fine. I'm not giving him shit. Like, he'll be all right, dude.
Yeah, it's really bad when poverty in America is having an iPhone and a flat screen TV.
yeah. So, I mean, it's like, all right. I think they'll be fine. I'm all right. But it's tough though. It's tough. I'm not trying to say that I don't feel for people. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But it's just for me. I don't, like you said, the feeding the beast thing. I do not want to. At all. If someone wants me to buy him a beer, most of the time I'm not going to do that. But if it's Friday and I'm in a good mood and he's like, they're being honest, I'm like, yeah, here's $1 for a fucking hurricane, bro. Like, all good, you know, good. All good.
And now I know tourism is probably at near zero.
And I think in India is one of those places still. Still to this day. I want to go back. Speaking of the Kumelia that I was telling you about, I don't ever want to miss another one of those. So I've been keeping up with kind of if they're India is just one of those places right now.
When is the next one? What year is the next one?
Well, the big one that I went to only happens every 12 years, but there's they call half melas. They do one every 3 years. So it's like basically half the size and in different parts of the country. So the one that I went to is in a place called Allahabad, and it's where 3 rivers meet each other. Including the Ganges, and I guess the stars are aligned a certain way, and that's where they go every 12 years to really get it's gnarly, man. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface with how just mind blowing of a place India can be. Like going, I mentioned Varanasi before. And they call it the city of the dead. I was in Cambodia, and this urge to go somewhere nuts started early. So I've been trying to gather intel from other travelers and shit for a long time. But I heard there was just this one old ruggedy dude in Cambodia who just like probably ran away because he's a criminal or some shit. You know, sat down with me and my friend. He was like, you know, if you want to go somewhere real crazy, bro, you got to go to this place called, and I'm still just a wide-eyed traveler. I've only been to like 2 countries. You know, he's like, this place, you know, it's called the City of the Dead in India called Varanasi. And I was like, I know I'm going to go there. Yes.
Yeah.
And,
what is it, like you know, the catacombs of India or something?
Yeah,
like
well,
that?
It's like, there's people in India that say it's the longest, oldest inhabited city in the world, but obviously that's very debatable on what the longest, you know, or who takes that. I'm sure that's probably even hard to prove.
Probably up there.
It's up there. It's definitely up there, and they burn upwards of 200 dead bodies a day along the river in there. And you just every single day, those fires haven't gone out for thousands of years on these on the holy churches along the river. And, you can go there and just watch them do this. And there's people bathing in the river. There's people taking shits in the river. There's people washing their clothes in the river. There's people drinking the fucking water out of the river. And we were smoking DMT joints, watching them burn the bodies, just in some little boat, you know what I mean? And I mean, I remember watching a
DMT joint,
just sprinkled some on some herbs. Yeah.
How was
it on the boat? It was fantastic. Very intense.
It was fantastic.
Like I said, it's like, dude, that's me in a nutshell. Let's take this shit to fucking the next level. And
so
I think
you have that like 3-minute trip or whatever,
No, we never did we didn't like blast off into outer space. It just gets, gets you feeling real nice. Yeah. And out in India, there's obviously a lot of psychedelics out there with all the hippies that go out there. So, I mean, for me, that's just psychedelics, India, dead bodies everywhere, holy water, religious experiences with people. I'm like, yeah, fucking let's, bring this on. So that's right up my alley as far as an experience like that goes. And Varanasi is by far, probably one of the most intense places you can go as far as, I mean, everything. I mean, it's filthy. I mean, it's fun. I mean, the food's good. It's so much fun, man. But yeah, those bodies, if you're younger than like 5, they'll just push your dead body out into the river. They've been doing this for a long time. So that river is probably it's full of bones, dude. It's pretty intense to go and watch them do it. And you can, if you're a female, you can't walk right up, but if you're a dude, you can walk right up to where they're burning the bodies and literally just stand there right next to them while they're doing it.
Why is that?
It's a good question. I don't know. There's a lot of that kind of,
just
that old school kind of,
or
there's a lot of that still goes on there too. As far as like the caste system, it's technically there isn't a caste system there anymore, but there still is culturally. They still do their thing. So it's just, again, just is what it is. And of course I'm going to go, I walked right, I sat there for like an hour, I think. And just watched them and all day long too, throughout the city, you just see people all day bringing dead bodies through the city, through the alleys, through the street. It's a constant.
Does that freak you out?
No, because it's not like scary or weird or dark. They're like, if you die
you didn't see someone get murdered.
Nothing like that. So this is the thing. People go there to die. That's why people go to Varanasi. The idea there is if you die in that city, then there's some kind of salvation that comes with that. If you make it to the city and then die there and then proceed to have your body burned in the water.
Can you imagine if you're driving and you're like 5 miles out and you're just fuck?
No, I know. With the amount of people that are there, that has to happen sometimes. You're like, come on, hold on, grandma. We're almost there.
They just have a bunch of defibrillators like right at that border. Give 1 or 2 heartbeats and then they're dead again.
Yeah, I made it. You're like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But no, man, it's intense. You want to talk about like a shift in perspective for things too. Speaking of what you're talking about, I mean, just because you make it doesn't mean you're necessarily good either. You want to get burned. You want your body to be burned on that river and put into the ocean. So there's a lot of people there that are just begging for enough money just to be able to burn or to buy the wood. You have to buy the wood.
Oh. You
have to buy your own wood. There's people that sell wood right next to the fires.
That is kind of a weird, twisted.
Yeah, it is. It's like it is, dude.
Yeah. I
fucking weird.
I can't imagine. Yeah, like I feel like that's like getting onto like some Mayan, like type of stuff. Like, please sacrifice me, give me wood so you could sacrifice me to this greater good or whatever. Yeah, that's I don't know, just kind of blows my mind of that like concept and stuff. So
it does, and like this guy Ram Dass.
And with DMT weed, really? Oh, yeah. God, I would be fucking going crazy.
It's very fun. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, because the music there is beautiful. They do this ceremony on the river 2 times a day, every day of the year, and it's a big fire ceremony that they do. so the dead bodies are down the river a little bit, or the burning. And then they do this big fire ceremony with thousands of people every day. It's pretty incredible to think they've been doing this for thousands of years. And it's just the music they play. It's just, I love it. I love it so much. It's so just like, it's just really surreal and beautiful music. And it's to you know, between the psychedelics and the situation and the music and the scenario, it could be quite a heroic, heavy experience. Sure. But
is it kind of, is it like the type of music? This is kind of like what I experience as well, but if you would say you just found like a common American or something, someone that's like not from this country, you would hear the music, you'd be like, oh, what the hell is this and stuff. But you gain the appreciation once you actually go there and you just have the whole setting there with the music. You're like, this is giving me more of the vibe now of doing it. Yeah.
Well, that's I love that question. It's because I always I'm always thinking of a way to like explain this to myself in my own head. But when I read that Shantaram book before going, I just put on spiritual Indian music or whatever on my on YouTube, and just a very simple like a sitar, they call it, you know, just the classic like little just Indian sound. So I got a lot of I really try to put myself there before I left. But then, once you're there, once you have that experience, like what you're talking about, where you're really in it and you really just the real deal, it's like they're actually playing the stuff live. The situation's real. I think that there's no better way to connect with a place than through their music like that, you know. And there's obviously local music of all different kinds too, of all different energies and vibes. And so there's always one for someone. So I feel like I do a pretty good job of investigating and and finding the type of sound from there that sounds fucking awesome to me. And a lot of those just really deep, just emotional, like holy songs where they're like singing mantras. And it's not like I guess you could say it's in like a minor tone as opposed to a major tone. Yeah. So a much not like like a ding-a-ling happy, but more of just like a really beautiful on the minor side, deep. Just I love that kind of shit. And there was a lot of that there. And they do an amazing job doing that show every single night. I don't know how I've never been there in the rainy season, so I don't know how that would work if there's torrential downpour, but the fact that they've been doing this for thousands of years is just, it's just mind blowing. It's definitely a place that people should go if they want to see some crazy shit. You will see it there in Varanasi. Yeah.
I'm imagining the music like definitely touches on like the kind of massage yoga type of like inner spiritual stuff. Like, I mean, not exactly, but I feel like it would be closely like related to that. I mean, I'm not here, like I'm not a huge connoisseur of Indian spiritual music,
right?
But I definitely will check it out. Yeah. But I could imagine that. Yeah, when I went to Istanbul, just recently, like one thing.
Awesome music. I think Turkey has beautiful music too. There's a lot of cool sounds there. So
this is like, when I would hear on the intercoms the 5 Muslim prayers, one started at like 6:48 in the morning or something like that. At first I was listening to it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever and stuff. But like once, you kind of got into the culture, you definitely start appreciating it a lot more. And you find the beauty in it. And sometimes you need 2 and 2 together to appreciate the beauty rather than just hearing it just on its face.
Sure. But it's fun though to like imagine what it's going to be like before though. You know what I mean? Here, I'll give you an example. It's like this, like that kind of noise. Just that real, shit like that. So you can really get into that. Like they'll just sit there for hours. You know what I mean? Like sitting around in like hashish roofs and cafes where people really, they call it charas out there. They love smoking hash. People who do it out there. And you get, when you have music like that and you just have an awesome crew with you and you're just in this crazy place in India and, sharing hash with a bunch of locals. It's you can I love just really getting into those local noises, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know. I mean, like I've listened to, I've tried at least what I imagine to be like local, cool, like just groovy sounding like Turkish music, and that's another kind that I would like. Again, that just puts me in a place where I'm like, fuck, I got to go there. That sound that feels, you know, I got to know what that feeling feels like, and music always does that for me.
Yeah, get ready to wake up at 6:48 in the morning though, because especially if you're like close to the center of Istanbul, it's funny, but it's kind of ridiculous at the same time, because it's like every like 5 blocks there's an intercom going off, and we had a terrace, so we went on the top and stuff, and all you hear is blah, 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 just like all of them going off. And so in the morning at 6:48, I'm just sleeping and go, oh, and they're just having the prayers go off, and it would just wake me up and stuff. So I was just used to waking up at like 6:48 every single fucking morning there.
Yeah,
when I wanted to sleep, and I'm just like, well, I'm up, and you know their coffee is strong as hell.
So I've heard.
Yes, and so I would just have a Turkish coffee in the morning, and I'm just like wide awake, you know, eyes wide open, and just, you know, going throughout my day and walking around everywhere. There's a lot of hills too. There are so many fucking hills. You will burn so many calories. Yeah. It's crazy. But going back to India, how true is basically how is it true, you know, people are pooping on the streets, is it really dirty? Is it
It's
dirty
filthy.
People,
yeah, and like in the big cities, like I mean, like I said, in Agra, I mean, there's literally it wouldn't be surprising to just find a dead fucking carcass on the side of the, you know, on the side of like some back road or whatever. So in that regard,
by, like it's just whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know how long that lasts for, because that was the only time that I had seen that, and it's definitely a different situation than in Varanasi, where they're dying for. I kind of can get what the situation is there, why there's all the dead bodies, but yeah, that situation was just because of how just gross kind of the situation was. But yeah, of course there is, but you know, I've seen people taking a shit on the side of the road in Denver too. It's just like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean? But like, it's like I think when there's that many people, there's just gonna be shit like that for sure. It's just, I don't think that's like a cultural thing or something like that, but more just like there's just that many fucking people in Delhi.
I heard they had a really like bad sewer system issue.
I haven't heard, I would not be surprised at all, but I didn't gather any intel on that when I was out there.
I saw something about Bill Gates actually like trying to solve that issue. I don't know.
Might have heard something about that a long time ago.
Yeah, but they just kind of have an outdated sewer issue. I think it's one with the amount of people that are there. I'm assuming
could you imagine trying to fix something like that though, with that many people? Like, where do you even start when a situation with that many people I mean, whoever can figure that out,
the brightest minds.
I pray. That's so funny. I don't want to get like off topic, but that was one of the things I was interested in a few months ago. I was like, I got to know how plumbing works. That seems like a fucking weird, like whoever figures that out, I don't think those people get enough credit for how amazing our lives are. Like whoever figured that out, that's just a humongous issue. That's just not, you know, that people like you or me don't even have to think about. Like, I don't even think about where all the literal shit goes. You know what I mean? Like, I have no idea, but I can only imagine that it's gnarly there for sure. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there was especially because, you know, in a lot of the places that I went to in public areas, there wasn't an issue with like in Western places, there was toilets and things like that. But obviously there's still tons of squatty potties, which maybe you are familiar with or not.
Yeah.
Those are just everywhere. But then, you know, we went to a couple people's actual like living spaces, in particular in Varanasi, and it's just like it's like a dirt floor or like a little concrete floor, and a squatty potty, which goes to where I don't exactly know. So yeah, I can imagine that it's it is something, you know, it is something that not a lot of people think about, but that's huge, man. You know what I mean? Something like that. And I can imagine now that it's nothing I've even really ever think about it too much until you've asked me, but I can imagine not having that luxury. You know, we're very lucky to have some of these creature comforts that we have here in that regard, aren't we?
Yeah. And well, I mean, just with COVID and everything else like coming to fruition, and we having countries like that are really unsanitary, it's like what could sprout next
Right.
from all of it and stuff like that. I'm hoping nothing comes from it and stuff like that, but you just never know, just like some of the unsanitary things that happen in those countries and stuff is a big issue now, since we had it, which probably came from China. And that was just, I mean, and if you've been to, any Asian country, I mean, you've been to Cambodia, so you've probably seen those meat markets. They're there. Some of them are, great to go to.
I love shit like that. But I guess
would go to bats or any other like
no
creatures
way,
and stuff
dude.
Like that.
Yeah,
but just some pork and those kind of chicken like type things and stuff. Well,
speaking of that kind of stuff in India, I mean, they're the one and only time I got like sick in India was like it was the most vicious food poisoning I've ever had in my life. I didn't escape there without getting the full treatment, but the most vicious food poisoning was from just a really nice restaurant. Other than that, I was eating off of street vendors' sweaty ass hands the entire time I was out there, multiple times a day. I didn't give a shit. My rule is very simple, and I think it's a lot of other people's too. It's like if locals are eating there, I'll eat there. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And I've never been, I guess kind of when I was like in high school and a little bit younger, a little bit of a germ freak, which is weird because I used to catch snakes and black widows and bugs and shit when I was a kid. So I don't know how that happened, but that was short lived. Other than maybe a couple years of my life, I've never really cared about like, it doesn't feel like there's a way for me to avoid germs. So like being in India, I'm just like, whatever, dude. Yeah. Give me the, like, it didn't bother me. Just give me, they throw the patties together with their hands and do everything. And just like, it made some people uncomfortable, but to me, I didn't ever think twice about it until I got sick at a restaurant. And even then I was like, I guess I'll just stick to street food. Cause fucking, I don't know. I don't know who knows what's going on back there in the kitchen, but I never, ever had a problem with street food in India, and it's very good. And I guess, I mean, maybe that's not the best like advice to give anyone, but for me, it's just like, if locals are eating there, it should be fine. Even if people are using their sweaty Indian sun bathed, just gnarly hands from the day, seems like it'd be all right.
I think it's pretty funny to think that if any of the street vendors or the restaurant owners just came to America and just did the same practices, they'd all be in jail for a really long time.
It's funny, isn't it? No, exactly.
Find out of existence. Yeah.
There is no, if you were to apply OSHA regulations to your run-in-the-mill street vendor or restaurant in India, there would be a single place out there that could be legally open. Yet they do just fine. It's okay.
We would put them in concentration camps. We'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, right. But no, it's funny enough. Everything's fine, and you'll be all right. But yeah, of course there is. I mean, again, I've gotten sick from food here too. It doesn't matter. I mean, you hear some pretty gross horror stories about some, sick fucks that work in fast food restaurants too, that do gross things. I'm not saying sick fucks work at fast food restaurants. I mean, there are some that do gross things, so that's just, that's another one of those things too. There's also something I know, by the way, that there is, I don't want to jinx anything either. I always am like careful about what I say at this point in my life. Cause I'm like, all it takes is me saying something like the other day, I was like, I haven't been sick all year. You know what? I'm feeling pretty good. Boom, coronavirus. It's like, what the fuck? Why do I say anything? Why do I say anything? Maybe I should stop podcasting so I don't fucking jinx myself or everything.
I know. Does COVID transmit through podcasts?
Yeah, I hope not. Yeah.
Do I need to quarantine for 2 weeks?
Some weird, that would be weird. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of the news and said, watch out, don't talk to people on the phone who have coronavirus.
I know, right? Yeah.
Like, fuck, here we go again.
5G's going to get you.
Yeah. To like quit no more talking on the phone to your family and friends. It'll spread. Just like, oh shit.
Christ.
But so I'm also trying to be careful about saying things along those lines too, because I don't want to go and get a bite to eat later and get food poisoning. So
yeah, I know. Can you imagine? Yeah, coronavirus and just food poisoning. That would, Jesus Christ. That'd be a really good weight loss supplement, though. You'd be down 30 pounds.
The double combo, I know, because I haven't been doing anything for the last couple of weeks, so that might not be the worst idea. But yeah, no, it's cool, man. Like India has a lot of. I think I mentioned earlier in our talk here that I left with more questions than I did answers about the place.
Yeah, what
and now I
have?
just want to go back now and really just spend. I mean, God, it would take multiple lifetimes to kind of know everything that's going on there. But even reading about like the Jains, for example, I think there's only like 1 million of these people left in the world. And there's just like learning about how people view karma out there. It's a real big thing. You know, just the way karma works and your place in the world has everything to do with your past lives and karma and all this kind of stuff. It's very fascinating. And I just didn't know how serious and how deep some of these people think about this shit. Like even like the Jains who basically they just walk there for the rest of their lives. We don't eat after dark. The idea is it's not a good or a bad thing morally for them. It's the idea of mastering humanity by not accumulating any karma at all, good or bad. They just are trying to never keep it. They don't want to accumulate karma of any kind. So they'll like swipe every single stair step with a feather before taking a step so they don't kill anything. You know, so, or they like won't eat once the sun starts going down, they won't eat just in case they accidentally eat a bug or something. So the idea is to not kill anything, not accumulate any karma, not do anything that'll cause karma at all. And eventually the best of the best of these people will fast themselves to death over the course of a year by just cutting out one food group at a time until they die. So it's like apparently it's like the ultimate form of like mastering humanity. There's a lot of weird things like that out there, and just Hinduism in general seems to be one of those things that's interpreted in weird in many different ways, and because of that, it's hard to understand why things are happening the way they are with these people as opposed to these people. I thought they were all Hindu, but then there's people within Hinduism that don't subscribe to this way of it's crazy. So that's why I left with more, I think, questions than answers. So I think it would take years and years to really, I mean, have some, even a little bit of a grasp on kind of like what is going on when you go to a fest like the Kumbh Mela, you know, and like kind of watch what those people are doing. It's fun nonetheless, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think with, you know, I'm not sure, 1.5 billion people, and it's not a huge country, you know, it's not Russia or China or something like that. It's like relatively smaller compared to those countries and stuff. With 1.5 billion people and stuff, you're going to get a really diverse cultural crew and stuff like that. So, you know, but what other questions do you have? Like what do you think is just like some just like kind of like simple questions? Like what really kind of made you think more?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just like just like what's the difference between when you go to somewhere like Varanasi, I mean, I'm asking why people, I guess like, so there's these people out there called Agori Babas, and they'll eat like flesh of the dead bodies and shit. Like they'll I guess the idea behind this
cannibalism,
quite literally, yeah, like the idea behind this thinking is that you'll eat anything that nature gives you, anything that God provides, you'll eat, even if it's a dead corpse. Anything, doesn't matter. You'll see them sifting through trash and shit like that. And I just got lucky being able to see these people because of what time of year it was. They usually are not out and around at all. And seeing things like that, and then talking to other people who look, you know, down on what they're doing, and then other people who don't look down on what they're doing, and then like the people who are, let's say like in the untouchable class, like what you were talking about before, they just get treated like shit, but they burn all the bodies for everyone. And then there's people, it's just a weird. So like my questions revolve around those kind of, it's more, I guess more like the cultural aspect of why things are. I almost wonder, you know, like, I think one of my main curiosities is if it's like it is here, in the sense of like, there's a lot of people that say that they're Christians or Catholic and go about their lives as if they are and believe that they are, but don't really do the things that Catholics do, or really believe in that shit. Like, so I almost wonder how much of that goes on in like Middle Eastern places and shit like that too, where it looks from the outside perspective like there's just these fanatically religious people. But if the more you kind of get under the skin of a place, the more you realize that, oh yeah, there's also people that secretly don't necessarily do all the right things religiously either. You know what I mean? And it's
sometimes
just like,
it's the fashion. I've noticed religion.
The fashion. That's a good word.
Yeah.
So that's my main question for a place like that, is like, how much of that is actually going on? Because if you actually believe in this and you say you believe in this, then this it just none of it just doesn't, you know, some of the shit doesn't make sense.
Well, do you think
or maybe
it is state mandated?
Yeah, well, apparently the caste system is state mandated no more, so I know that for sure. But yeah, no, I don't think it's I don't think it's state mandated for something like that.
You could.
I think it's all cultural. No. I think it's just all cultural, just things that people are working through still. And yeah, it's fun. It's cool to see that. You know, it's cool to like see that and ponder, and you know, try to figure it out, because I just, people will do crazy things in the name of, you know, science or religion or whatever. But yeah, I think that's kind of what I want to do, is go back there and really kind of, you know, just read a lot more history about it, and, you know, talk to a lot more people about that, what I just told you. For sure.
So if you were to recommend me, or I guess just anybody, for a first-time traveler, what would you do? What would you recommend them to do so they don't make the mistakes that you made? What would you do correctly?
Yeah. For sure, 100%. Don't trust people who walk up to you and say, "Hey, my friend." Hey, my friend. You'll get
hey,
that.
My friend. Hey, my
friend. My friend. Yeah. If someone says "my friend" to you, I would just.
They're not your friend.
Proceed with caution. There'll still be people that tell you you're their friend, if you know, after you get to know them or whatever. But if you're if you're out there in a big city out there, there's no reason for anyone to just randomly walk up to you, unless they're trying to scam you. So I get just that would be like I was saying before. That's the one. There was a huge difference between when I first showed up and then 3 months into it. It was a whole entire different experience. People can feel how green you are there. You could just like when I first got there, there's people coming up to me left and right constantly. 3 months later, for some reason, no one's just walking up to me anymore. It's the feel, like you can literally sense it in the air. So just know that that's for sure going to be the case. And just walk around like you know what's going on. It's because it's very obvious when you don't know what's going on, and then you can get taken advantage of.
You have to go with the flow. You have to play by their rules. You have
to
know the game of the country. Like I said on the last
walk like you know where you're going. Just look like you know what you're doing, and you're not going to get messed with as much. Also, I did hear from a lot of females that it could be challenging. I did get that feedback from a lot of girls that I was traveling with there. Harassment, just kind of just creepy shit, weird looks, people staring at you while you're sleeping on a bus and shit, stuff like that. Now, I also know tons of badass chicks that don't give a fuck, and they'll still, do all these things. And totally, I'm just saying it's something to think about too. I met a few different, females out there that wanted to leave immediately just because of how intense some of these situations got at these festivals, for example, and things like that. So, that's probably the main thing, is just watching out for getting ripped off, because people are going to try to rip you off, especially when you land in Delhi. But
are they racist towards any?
I think towards Muslims. Yeah, I don't, not that I'm completely aware of, but I know that I think like Hindus and Muslims are pretty. They got beef and shit. Yeah, for sure. So
yeah,
but it is an awesome place, and
So it's
there's
more of a
nothing
cultural like racism rather than ethnic.
Oh
race.
yeah, for sure,
Gotcha. Mm-hmm.
From what I've seen, from what I've gathered there, being there for like 5.5
6
months.
months. Yeah, you kind of would pick up on some of that stuff. But
yeah, totally. And
did you ever run into any other Mexicans over there?
None. Yes, I did.
You're like one of the few Mexicans over in India.
A lot of Latin people, but not Mexicans from Mexico.
Not Mexican?
No.
Okay.
But still, the Latin vibe knows each other. You kind of we get it. Around and shit like that. Exactly. So no, it's a really cool place though. I mean, there's tons of places there that are awesome. Like I said, Rishikesh is one of those places that I think a lot of everyone should go. It's really fun, really cool place.
Mm-hmm.
I love somewhere like Delhi, which is just nuts, insane. 99% of people that you meet or talk to aren't going to want to stay there. They're going to want to leave pretty shortly after getting there. But but those are the places that you're going to get the most gnarly harassment and things like that happening to you. Now, this is just, it's not, I don't want to make anyone think that you're going to get harassed. It's just, just your normal stuff. Just people walking up to you.
If
there's
you're
no reason for someone to be your friend
you're
in a touristy place. You'll be fine. Yeah. And I always people have told me to like Southeast Asia is like training wheels for India in a way. So if you've been there, for example, then it's just a little more intense, a little more gnarly, but
I think the funniest experience is when I landed and got off the plane over in Mexico. And have you ever seen like the Wall Street like kind of center where people are yelling and all the stocks are going on and stuff?
Yeah.
Just imagine just 50 like Latino guys just trying to get you into their taxi. They're screaming at you, they're harassing you the whole way you're exiting, and it was it was just like ridiculous. Just hey, hola, and they're just bombarding you, and you're like, oh my god, and stuff. And I just laughed because my friend he went to Puerto Vallarta. He's like, hey, there's going to be a lot of people that's just going to come up and talk to you. Just run and ignore them. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And literally the door opens, it's just everybody's just like trying to get you and stuff. So that was kind of like one of the most comical moments that I ran into and stuff. But I was already experienced, so I just ignored them and walked and stuff. But
those are my favorite though. I love those situations because I definitely know I'll get the best price in that situation because it's just a bidding. It's just a bidding situation for them now. It's like the first person I look at, I'm like, how much? And they'll tell me, and then I'll just look around at everyone else and they'll be like, no, I'll do it for this. And I'm like, and then I'll act like someone gave me a better price, be like, oh really? And then I'll just like, and then I've kind of learned how to use those situations.
Going twice, what I usually do for taxis and stuff, if there's an Uber that's in their country, I'll just use it because they Uber and the taxi like system, so it's not necessarily Uber, it's just calling like their taxi, and then they'll just set their fare if their fare prices like correctly and stuff. That's always usually what I do.
Totally.
It's illegal in some countries. It's just kind of weird and stuff.
Well, that's the fun thing about today's day and age, isn't it? With the technology and not like, of course it's fun to make it somewhere without using your phone, asking for directions or just, not using your phone to find the best restaurant in town or something like that. There's something that obviously there's people like me prefer that, but on the other side of it too, it's like, I know I'll get the best deal if I use Grab in Vietnam or Uber and there it's going to be. So just at some point in time, it just turns into, it just is usually the more cheaper and convenient option. And, us humans just tend to usually go that route.
I got a new phone I have like the same number, but I got a new like provider and stuff. And I did not have like international data and service at all and stuff. So I went without service most of the time when I was out on the street, and you don't realize how much you actually need your phone.
Yeah,
and it's just like how vulnerable you can be without having your phone. And no Google Translate, nothing. You're screwed. I don't even, people think, we're kind of little badasses for going to all these countries and stuff. It's so easy now. The real badasses are the travelers who were doing it in the 1950s that had nothing. they had
traveler's
nothing.
checks and shit. I'm like, I don't even know what to do with that. Like,
Exactly.
like, oh
Yeah.
God.
You just, we have it. Things are starting to get much more connected now. So it's like much easier to make things happen. If I want to go down to any country, and I just need to pull out my phone and translate it and stuff, if I have Wi-Fi and stuff like that. But like, it's not that hard anymore. So I don't see what the intimidation is for doing just any travel in almost any country. Obviously some are dangerous and stuff like that, but it is what it is. But I have 2 questions left that I always like to ask. First question is, what was the scariest or most dangerous moments you had in India?
There's 2. One of them was when I got that food poisoning. I wasn't sure what was happening. I thought I was going to die because I was puking my guts out. Oh, it was the worst feeling I've ever had in my life. Yeah. But that's the end of the story. I got food poisoning, was throwing up and shitting on the bathroom floor at a hostel, and everyone in the room was doing their best to assist me. That's pretty much it. But one of the more like just, oh my God, WTF moments was when we left Varanasi in the morning to go into this festival, which was like 3 hours away. And so we were just, we were sitting around. We went and bought a bunch of what are called bang lassi balls. So they're like little, like just wet balls of weed, basically. And they put them in like milkshakes or whatever, or they put them in lassis.
Hold on, I don't mean to interrupt. Is weed legal there?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No,
okay.
but people
sure.
smoke it and use it and do it all the time. It's really weird. I think religiously it technically is, but the authorities can decide whether it's hard. But
okay, gotcha. You just kept talking about it, and I just didn't know.
It technically is, but we went to a place that said government bong shop, which is like government weed store essentially. And then it's right next to a government liquor store. So it's like the 2 of them are next to each other in Varanasi.
Interesting. Yeah.
So we were like, sweet. So we went and they were like 20 cents for one of these wet balls. And one of them will get you pretty loaded. And, but we just went and bought like 20 of these things or whatever, And we were going to go to this festival, they just wrap them up in newspaper. They just give you these wet wet sacks in newspaper. And so we got a bunch of them, a lot. We got a lot of those. Yeah. And I throw like 3 of them. I ate like 3 of them right there before we went to go get on the bus to then go to this festival, because this was the last 3 or 4 days of the festival. So we were going to go for the final
that 12-year festival.
Yes,
thing?
yes, the big one. So and there was a lot of people going in from Varanasi that day too. So it was a big day for everyone. It was a huge day. And so we eat these things, and then we're waiting. It was me, a friend from California, a friend from Germany, our Indian friend. And that was it. We were meeting other people that were going to show up later, but it was just us that got on this bus. And the bus finally arrives. We were like one of the first people on it, along with all the other passengers that got on as well. And we start off. It's a real bumpy, crazy road that had seemed like 15. There weren't lanes. It was just a road, but there was just 15 different spaces. Cars going in and out. It was real intense. And they're just picking more and more and more people up as we're on our way to this festival. And before you know it, it's just absolutely crammed in there. So I'm sitting in the aisle seat, and my friend's sitting on the window seat. And then our other 2 friends are on the other side, which we can't see them now because people are smashed into the bus all the way in, down the aisle, right?
Yeah.
And so we're going, and we're driving, and then all the windows are down. It's this real shanty Indian bus. There's the really weird music is playing. You know what I mean? And now, at this point, these wet weed balls are starting to kick in very, 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 very hard. And we're going, and again the windows were down. And what I thought happened was that I thought a car drove through a puddle, and that the water splashed inside the window. And I was like, oh, that sucks or whatever.
Yeah.
But then we look up, and there's this old lady just projectile vomiting out the window 2 seats in front of us. And it's coming back all of it came back on our fucking faces. So that just happened. I just like that. I had the initial thought, oh, puddle water, shit. And then and then I look over at my friend, like, what the, he's like, and then I looked up and seen what was happening. And it was just such a shocking experience that I didn't react like I normally would have, which is also to throw up all over the place. Because I kind of have, like, with throw up, I also have a weak stomach with that.
Yeah.
I just took my scarf, wiped my face. I was like, oh my God, that did not just happen right now. People are laughing and shit on the bus. I was like, oh my God. And then they push more people into the bus. And then now standing next to me is this lady and her 2 kids, and they're just sicker than like they're just like the sickest kids you can imagine, snotting, coughing. She's holding them, and one's just looking at me. I'm like, so I just like I had put my scarf over my face and like leaned into my friend for like 2.5 hours, and these kids are, and I'm like kneeing this kid away. I'm like, I was like, get the fuck off me, like, you know what I mean? And people are laughing still, like it was just this nightmare scenario where people are, I'm like, dude, these kids are sicker than fuck. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I have to, I just put my scarf over, put some headphones in. I was like, fuck it, I'm putting my headphones in.
Was it hot?
It was hotter than fuck. Yeah, so it was just all sick and hot too. I just smelled like throw up. So there's a smell of throw up.
Yeah.
I was getting higher and higher and higher by the second. And these 2 sick kids are just next to me with their mom. And I was just like, oh my God. You know what I mean? And then, 2.5 hours later, they got off the bus and we got off.
Did you start coming down? Like,
no. No, the edibles last all day.
Oh my God.
So we got off the bus and then we just took off our clothes, took off our shirt and everything, and just kind of were walking around until someone made us put a shirt on. But, it was real gross. That's something that I'll never ever forget. I mean, literally puke to the fucking face, even lips, everything. Like it was brutal.
I'm surprised you didn't get sick by all that.
I was ready to. I thought I was going to at the time, right? So,
or no, just generally with the kid like being stung and all that stuff.
Yeah, like, I was sure I was gonna get sick. I was like, fuck. Okay. Yeah, I was that's why I was pissed off. Yeah. I was like, damn it, man. I'm like, I'm gonna get. But it was that, secretly deep down inside, and the peak of the moment of like, being all smashed up against my friend, knowing that we have 2 hours left to go, there still was something in me that I'm like, well, I feel more alive than I've ever felt in my life. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is what adventure's all about.
Crazy shit. You just look back and you're like, I will have that forever. Like, I'm glad it happened. Not at the moment, but now I'm so glad it happened.
Yeah.
And you kind of actually just went more into my second question. It wasn't really a dangerous thing. It was just more of a crazy thing that happened.
Yeah.
I usually like to say something dangerous and then something just like crazy as like something cool or something just like so wacky and stuff like that. So you just kind of went into it.
Well, I mean, you could say that the rat infested mattress was dangerous that we slept in that same night, that exact same night. So we had everyone was tired. And so they decided this, we found one shit little like hotel room in this town. Everything was booked out, obviously, even all the tent. So I ended up sleeping on the ground in the festival that 2 nights later after that. But me and 4 friends found, and we were going to meet up with our other friends who had nowhere to go either. So we had like 7 people in one room on one bed in this little dingy little weird place. But I ended up going out with the owner of the hotel and this liquor store owner to the festival. He's like, we're going to go down there. We're going to bathe. He's like, do you want to come with us? He invited all of us, but no one wanted to go because everyone was tired. But I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm going, dude. That sounds sick. You know what I mean? I'm just, let's roll. This is why I'm here. Let's go and check this out. Why does no one else want to, whatever, fine. You know, so everyone stayed back, literally ate like 3 more of those bong balls. And then we went into the festival until, like 4 or 5 in the morning. I think we got back.
Yeah.
But we went down. It was the most amazing thing ever. We go, we're watching, they go to bathe. I'm watching these like people bring their family and like this brother with his little sister, and like they're crying, like they made it. People have been waiting their entire lives to walk across the country to get to this thing. So you can imagine how surreal it was for a lot of these people, and that true, genuine serenity really captures you. And I just remember, I don't think I've ever like cried so hard in my life. And there was like, I didn't even know why. It was just overwhelming. It was amazing to see what was happening. It really, truly was incredible. And I just remember these old ladies were surrounding me, just like, I'm like weeping like a fucking baby. And these old ladies are like, they're doing these, like, they're saying things and like praying to me and shit. And and then I lose it even more. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I'm like, I was so high and emotional. I just, and
you didn't take a physical trip. You took a spiritual trip.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. But after all that, then they drive us back to their place. Right. And then I go back up there. And I remember, it was obviously funny. Like, I remember walking into the room thinking everyone would be asleep. And I kind of heard a little rustling around. I'm like, Jaylen, I'm like, yeah, what's up? I ate like 4 more of those things. So, and then everyone just starts laughing their ass off. You know what I mean? And then I get into the bed, and I must have been the final straw that broke the camel's back. But I, like, laid into the bed with everyone, and these fucking rats just come crawling out of the match, like bunch. I don't even know how many. A lot. Yeah. And everyone was like, ah! Everyone just gets up for lips out. You know what I mean? And then it was like, well, we might as well get up now. So I didn't get any sleep that night because of that. I got to lay down for like 2 minutes before, it was panic out of the bed because
I'm surprised you're alive.
Gross.
I'm surprised you have not mentally broke yourself with all the crap.
That was disgusting, and that was all in the same 24 hours. All of that. So
I'd be exhausted. I would want to go home just right then and there.
Yeah.
But it was a clean flight, and
it was fun though. I mean, like I said, that kind of shit's like, because then it was time for the final bathing day. Like, that was the night before, and then we, and then we went out. Everyone was walking into the thing that day. I think we spent like 3 hours walking. It took us only, it didn't take us that long to drive there the night before. Then you walk. It's so big, but there's places along the river everywhere, so there's just an infinite amount of like space to go to, but it was sick. And the night it was better. It was fucking awesome to have been able to go with those 2 dudes. Just them. And they, took me down there to go and check out the spot that they knew with their people and things like that. It was pretty cool because I didn't find that spot the next day. It was crowded, nuts. I mean, like, felt a little, again, like if something happened or some kind of you're dead. There's that many people. It was pretty intense. So, but other than that, I mean, nothing as far as like other people go, nothing dangerous in that regard, as far as like threatening people or anything, nothing like that. Nothing like that in India. No.
Yeah. So talk about your podcast really quick.
Yeah, I host a show called Inspired by Fire. It's I've been doing it for like a year now. It started as kind of like a travel podcast, but we go all over the place. More like travel and entrepreneurship kind of mixed together, these two kind of things. A lot of like economics and things like that. So I'm still, I just kind of interview anyone and everyone. I get a lot of people that want to come on the show now, which is fun. So you
kind of travel through subjects, not just land, but it just like kind of, you travel. It's like you're just kind of like the personal traveler when it comes to ideas and subjects and things. I mean, you went from Bitcoin to a guy doing, what did he do? I forgot if he did marathons or something like around the world and stuff. So I
ran marathons.
Listened to quite a few.
It's more like there's just like these grandiose stories that revolve around. I think the new tagline that I have for it is live epic and think free. So just exploring all aspects of freedom, whether that's free markets, free speech, travel, all things that revolve around liberty and freedom. So we're very much into, liberty and philosophy and reading good books and learning about a lot of cool things and looking for ways to achieve freedom. And, in my case with, like I said, with the Bitcoin cryptocurrency things, that's been a huge one for me to be able to live the kind of life that I want and do some of the things that I do. So we just like exploring what it means to, be free, freedom, all things freedom and liberty.
Speaking of Bitcoin, fuck, man. It's gone crazy.
It's going parabolic, but that'll come to an end soon, but it's been a fun ride up to this point for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man, it's great. Yeah, we like to talk about freedom, and it's called Inspired by Fire, which you can find at inspiredbyfire.org, and of course, it's on all podcast platforms as well. So
same tag. So Inspired
yeah,
by
got
Fire and all
got
that
some
stuff,
pretty cool guests on there. If you're especially like if you're into travel, like Jason Moron recently, he has like the second biggest travel podcast on iTunes, I think, and lots of other cool travel guests. There's a lot of cool travel guests.
You've had
there.
some bigwigs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, it's starting to get to that point now where I'm pretty comfortable emailing almost anyone and seeing about getting them on the show, so long as kind of our views align and things like that, especially more along like the economic side of things like that, where with being a like more of like a libertarian leaning podcast in that regard, just exploring freedom. So
it's kind of surprising the people you can actually email and get on.
It is, isn't it?
I haven't spent, I've just been kind of going through my whole life change as well with everything and stuff, which is good. I've been busy and stuff, so things have been positive, but I definitely want to get back to this and do this a little bit more and just try to get myself a little bit more organized and set up and stuff. But
totally.
It's just fun. Yeah. Just like sitting down, talking crap about, or not talking crap, talking stuff, just about countries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's what I do anyways at parties, so I might as well just
exactly.
with everybody else. So, thank you for having us on. And thank you guys for listening. I think that's pretty much everything. I will see when I come on next. I need to get myself scheduled up, but I'm glad to have you on, Jay, because you are awesome. And I like talking to you a lot, and I enjoyed our first conversation. I enjoyed this, and I hope to talk to you soon in the future. We need to travel soon. Take me on your trips.
Totally.
I probably won't do as many drugs as you will, but I will still.
It's okay.
I will still have a great time. So, hey, man, thanks for being on. And hold on just for 1 second.